Hello, and once again, we are live with the Modern Mystery School UK EU podcast and YouTube channel. And today we are joined by the lovely Katie. Katie, how are you?
Hello, yeah, I'm well, thank you. All doing
Good.
well.
Good. Well, I'm glad to have you back on the show because you and I have been chatting, and your story is nothing short than a miracle for me. And I think you'll agree. And I think it's really important to document these things so that others that may be going through this, or they might have a family member or somebody that just is completely at a loss what to do next, might give them some hope, might give them an option, might give them some kind of something to hold on to go, well, let's give it a go. So could you outline your life, what the diseases and the challenges that you have, where you were, what you have done in that time, in a time frame, and where you are now. You're looking fabulous, by the way, and nobody's going to believe. Anyway, you look gorgeous and full of vitality and just give us that background. Just give us that background.
Yeah, it's been a journey and a half, and I'm 100% experiencing miracles like year on year. Very, very briefly, I started developing autoimmune issues as a child. So yeah, from about the age of like 11 or 12. And eventually got diagnosed with connective tissue disease, which has developed over time. I also picked up chronic Lyme disease along the way and developed other autoimmune issues as a result. So I ended up in a really big pickle in my early 20s. By pickle, I mean I was basically completely housebound. I couldn't work. I could barely stand up. My mum was very much my carer. She had to help me get dressed. And like the biggest extent of my week was like a trip to Tesco's, and that would knock me out. And that's actually when I started finding a more spiritual path. That's when I started finding yoga, and I did find a lot of relief through that. However, these problems didn't stop. It kind of kept building to the point where I had like a massive crash in my late 20s. So like 28 was kind of like the pinnacle year of it. And I still don't entirely know what happened. My whole immune system just went into total shutdown, and I started reacting really negatively to food, but not in like a gastro way. It was all like neurological symptoms. So I was experiencing like horrendous fatigue, paranoia, psychosis at times, really like heavy depression and stuff. Like it was hell on earth. It was just horrendous. And basically what I know now is that I was developing more lupus type symptoms, and I developed a disease called Sjogren's syndrome. So basically my autoimmunity was snowballing at this point, and I was getting no help. I kind of always thought if like my diseases did progress, I would get that support medically, and it just didn't happen. Actually, it was quite the reverse. I was told I was psychologically unstable, that I needed to be sectioned and highly medicated on like really heavy antidepressants and things like that. And I rejected that notion. It didn't feel right. I'd done the antidepressant thing before, and I just ended up numb. And also these drugs had all these things I was reacting to, like the additives in medications. And I knew that was happening to me. I saw one GP who said that I wasn't that special, and the likelihood of me having these symptoms was about 1 in 5 million. And I tell you what, sometimes you are that 1 in 5 million, and I happen to be so. But I knew in my heart space that like this wasn't right. So I came off everything. And I spent thousands and thousands of pounds like looking for alternative like private doctors. I went down the functional practitioner route and spent outrageous amounts of money on like testing, supplements, like, oh, this is going to heal your gut microbiome and you'll be fine. No, it wasn't as cut and dry as that. And it got to the point shortly before my life activation where I just felt I was numb. I was like dead inside. I had no hope, and I was just getting progressively worse. And I'd kind of given up. I'd kind of accepted the narratives that had been put on me, which was like, maybe this was, I spent 2 years in therapy trying to work out why I would invent these symptoms for this sort of attention. And then I had my life activation. And absolutely everything just started changing. First, it was small things. It wasn't like big health stuff initially. At this point, I was working again. I was able to work remotely, but I didn't have much mobility. And yeah, my fatigue was really, really poor. But slowly but surely, like, I started running again. My yoga practice picked up. I started also standing up for myself. Because if you are in that chronic health bubble, you probably understand like working full time is really challenging. And I'd had some really negative experiences with managers where, you know, number one, they didn't believe me. Number two, I was like totally gaslit and basically told, you know, you're not capable of working. But then I ended up giving like a full presentation on what it is to live with like chronic disabilities at work. And it was really well received. People stepped forward and started, like, I opened a conversation in like a remote working environment, which was phenomenal. It's one of the things I'm still super proud of, because I had to put myself on the line there. But this is what had happened. I had stopped putting myself on the line. I'd stopped standing up for myself. I had no fight left. And with my life activation, suddenly I started having this fight. But just from there, that was a couple of years ago now, to where I am now, it is astronomical. So like, bearing in mind with my MCAS, I have like quite a severe chemical sensitivity. And when I went to the Empower Thyself class, which by the way, I was like, no, I'm not going to do this. And then I was like, I can't stop thinking about it. Okay, I'm going for it. And I did. But obviously there's a lot of sage, there's a lot of incense, and I'm sure Ipsisna, you remember, I had to keep stepping out the room because I couldn't breathe. My throat was closing up. But I was just like, no, I've got to, I know I need to be here. I know I need to do this. And it's amazing how much I was still able to absorb and learn in that time. But from when I had that initiation, fast forward a year, when I sat back in on Empower Thyself. I also went to Healy's Academy in that time and Galactic One. I did not react at all. I could sit in the room, and it was winter, so the doors were shut. There was no air coming through. But not only that, since the life activation, bear in mind, I'd been told for 7 years, totally untreatable, there's nothing anyone can do. I started attracting things to me. That's the best way I can say it. And I did find medication. And now I'm on things that are really improving my quality of life. Fast forward to even this week, you get guided. I believe you get guided, and it's a very different sensation to you like desperately looking for answers. You just suddenly kind of wake up and know, and then you follow this path. And basically I found this neurologist that's now given me all of these other answers that I didn't have. And it's gone from like doors closing, and now it's like going through one door, then there's another door, there's another door, there's another door. Suddenly I've got all these treatment options available. And he's very much of the opinion we're probably going to reverse a whole hell of a lot of your symptoms. And I'm doing RM in the next couple of weeks, and I just think the timing of that, do I think that's a coincidence? No, I don't. And the biggest thing, probably the biggest thing is when you do take that initiation, when you do that Empower Thyself class, there are tools I use every single day, multiple times a day, and it has changed absolutely everything. Like, I've literally gone from bedbound, housebound, kind of like I couldn't work. Whereas now, like, I work full time. I work at a national newspaper. It's a big job. Like, I'm very proud of like the job that I have, but they also fully support me in my health challenges. I've just had a conversation with them today, and they've recommended I work from home for a while I'm going through treatment. Whereas, like, tell me 5 years ago that would even be an option, I wouldn't have even thought to ask for it. you know, I would have like either quit or just been like, or try to hide it so much and hide my lifestyle. Whereas now I just have this like, where there was an abyss, there is now light. I think it's just not there. And it's amazing what you start to attract.
Yeah, it's been phenomenal to watch because, as you said, so when you're using these tools and have initiation, of course, your vibration gets higher, and we know like attracts like. So you are right. Then these things, these higher vibration things start to come into our life. Oh, here we go. Now I'm going to get an answer from here because there's much more clarity. Up here, I can see from a higher perspective, and I've seen it with you every step of the way, and we'll have a chat and we check in, and you'll be like, oh, this has happened, that has happened, this has happened. I'm like, go, this is amazing, well done you. So it is living that miracle, and some people out there might not really quite understand unless you've been unwell and had, and it's life threatening, which yours has been. I mean, that you were told you would have organ failure, all these different types of things. It is a very scary place to be when sometimes, the medical profession can't help you, or doing everything they can, and it can be scary. So it's been phenomenal to watch you heal and grow, because it's not just healing.
Yeah,
You
it's
have
the growth.
grown.
Yeah,
So
like my whole structure feels different. But even like case in point, so prior, I would have been like very attached to getting a diagnosis. It was like, no, I need to know what's wrong. But that's something I've really kind of released. And then suddenly I'm getting all of these answers. But like case in point, a couple of weeks ago, I actually received an ADHD diagnosis. And historically, I would have been like, oh my goodness, this has really shocked me, and like all of this stuff. And the first thing they do is like offer these medications, and I was actually like almost offended by that, because I'm a bit like, well, okay, so maybe like I do have like neurodiversities, blah blah blah, but maybe my brain's supposed to work this way. I don't want to medicate myself to be like someone else. And it's even like last year, one of my doctors did suggest like trialing antidepressants again to see if it might help like bring some more food back, because that is still like a really complicated issue for me. So I did go back on them. And then last month or so, like I said, I am getting ready for Ritual Master, and I'm really looking forward to that process. And I started losing these these meds, and I just started thinking, I can't actually feel anything anymore. Like I don't get super happy. I don't get like the lows and stuff, but it just felt wrong for me. So I did, obviously under medical supervision, taper off, and I 100% know that was the right thing, because I was numbing so much of myself as an experiment that wasn't even working. So I was like, well, these drugs are missing for a reason. Maybe I need to, like, you just get so many signs, and if you listen to them, and like, this is the other thing, I think, if you have lived with chronic health, I have a theory. I think you develop your other senses in like a astronomical way, just because like you are so shut off from so much of the world for so long. And I think that does become a bit of a superpower, like lean into that. And anytime I've tried to go against those feelings, that's when it's all gone a bit wrong. Whereas when I do trust it, it's suddenly like it's abundance that comes.
Yeah, and here's the thing. It's, we are walking this path, this spiritual well-being, spiritual progression path, to know thyself. And everything you described is you revealing something else about yourself. Okay, so I need to do this and I need to do that. And this is how I need to approach this. And okay, so I can have this food, I can do this, I can do this. Oh, but now this is different because I've healed a little bit. So, and it's that continuous journey, and you are really tuning in to what you need right now in this journey of wellness. And so that's what I would always say about people like I don't know if I can say it, but poo-pooing spiritual health.
No, but I was the same. I was just like, do you know what? There's no way, like, absolutely not. Like, this is ridiculous. Like, initiation, like, come on.
People do, they poo-poo it because they think, oh, well, you know, it's, what's that got to do with the price of peas? But it's got everything to do with it. You know?
Well, and like, but science is catching up. It's like there's so much more like awareness now, and like they think like a lot of autoimmunity stems from like trauma. But how do you know your trauma? Well, I discovered mine that I'd been hiding from myself when I had my life activation, and it wasn't like this big horrible thing. It was just something happened in childhood that had made me feel not safe. And it wasn't it, like my uncle passed away when I was 4, and it was that was it. But I didn't remember that because I don't remember my 4-year-old self. But when I had my life activation, I saw that moment, and I realized that's when I stopped feeling safe. So is it any wonder why I develop diseases that attack, where your body attacks itself? Because I'm constantly telling myself on an unconscious level, I'm not safe.
And that's a good point as well. It's like when people say, you know, about the traumas and things, some people have been through horrendous things. I get it, but you're right. Sometimes it's just something, an event or something that happens that creates that pattern, that unconscious pattern.
Yeah, and you can't quantify that as an adult. You can't, because you're living with your adult brain. You're not living with your childhood brain. And it can be something that small. But I actually had full spirit activation last December. And for the first time in my living memory, I felt safe, and I felt safe ever since. And I have not felt that since I was a small child. But this is where these things are so powerful. And like, I believe like one of my purposes is to make these spiritual healings as normal and as on par as going to physio, because I don't see a difference.
I'm 100%. 100%. It's, you know, when we talk about whole health, you know, how can we look at physical well-being, mental well-being, and then the spiritual well-being? You know, we are spiritual beings, whether we agree with that or not, whether we that's just reality. So we've got to, you know, learn how to nourish the soul, the spirit, the physical, you know, I mean, it's a no-brainer.
Absolutely. Well, it is one of those things. It's like, if you have been unwell for a long time, like, what do you have to lose? That's the point. Like, when I first heard about it, I was just like, yeah, okay. But then there was a part of me that was like, yeah, okay. You know what I mean? And then I was just like, I was spending so much, like I said, I was spending thousands and thousands of pounds on private medical care, which I got nowhere. I got absolutely nowhere. And I was like, okay, let's give this a go.
Yeah. I am 100% with you. What have you got to lose? And also, as a preventative measure, if we can start doing these things early on in life, I mean, I'll tell you when I get to 70 or 80, you know, what you know, but you know, if we can start doing these things earlier on, and have them, you know, it is going to make a huge difference in our older age, and as we grow. I already know, I mean, I'm, you know, a couple of years away from 50, you know, but I don't feel or kind of, you know, feel like I'm 50, you know, in any sense. I mean, I know my mum's 72 or something. Sorry, Mum, I've just told her your age.
So it's my 70th on Saturday.
Glossing out. But she always says that she doesn't feel like that. I get that, but what I'm saying is my whole body, my whole being, my whole health, and everything in me, if you know, feels very different to when I was in my 20s, when I didn't feel well. You know, no, so
I have never in my life, apart from maybe as like a small child, I have never felt like, I guess, like this light. And I'm just like more connected to all parts of me than I ever have been. And I just think about myself like in my early 20s when I was that sick, and I developed this terrible relationship with I hated my body. I hated what was happening to me. And I like I was nasty to myself. Whereas now, like, yeah, okay, yeah, I have good months, I have bad months. I'm having some trouble at the moment, but I'm also really well aware there's so much more of me that I'm nourishing, and I can't hate myself anymore. I can't physically do it. And there's so much in that, because what happens in your mind, what happens in your like emotional body, if you like, will show up in your physical body. Like, that's, again, science is catching up with this.
So we're at our 20 minutes now. Katie, what do you think if we do a live journal and we do a check-in like once every 3 months, and we see where you are? And because you've already mentioned you've got the RM initiation coming up, and it's just going to be really fascinating to see.
It's been radical each time I've done something with the mystery school. Like, it's not like I can't express this enough. It's not like oh, maybe I feel a bit different today. It's freaking radical.
Yeah. And I think
this is a big one, and I'm aware this is a big one coming up.
It's really interesting, because I don't know if this is the case, but I as my kind of inquisitive mind is like, people that have been unwell, maybe they notice or are a lot more aware of the jumps or the ways that they are feeling. So it's not that maybe other people are not feeling that, but sometimes we're not really aware because
Do you know what? I gave a life activation to a lady with MS, and we did like a top-up one as well. Like, I do generally recommend, like, particularly if you are having long-term health. Like, I definitely felt a lot from like my second life activation as well, and I offered the same to her, and she came back to me and she said something that I'm never ever going to forget. And she was just like, I don't feel like I'm contaminated anymore. And that was such a, like, it gives me the goosebumps now, because that's how I felt after mine. And like I said, like, I do think when you have been unwell for a long time, you do spend a lot of time on your own. There was something I said to myself when I was 28, which was, when your body feels like a prison, your mind is the only place you have to be free. And I think a lot of people find that, but you do develop this like sensitivity and this awareness. So I think, obviously, I have no evidence to back this up, but maybe if you have been struggling with like your health your whole life, you're just so aware of what every inch of your body is going through, that when you get a positive shift, finally, you're like, whoa. Which was my experience.
Yeah, which was my experience as well. So, I know for me, I was like, well, I can feel it working. I mean, I can, the pain is going, whoa, hang on a minute. Because you're that used to being in pain that you don't even know that you're in pain all the time. It's because it's just there in your body and everything. It's hard to explain, but
no, it is. It's like you get so used to living a certain way that when it's taken away, it's just like, oh, that wasn't normal. There is more than this. Okay. All right. Well, this is great. Sign me up.
Exactly. I'll have more of that, please.
Yeah.
Okay, let's check in now. Lou saying, incredible, such powerful stuff. I can definitely relate to a lot of this. What a journey. You're a true inspiration. There you go.
So are you. You're another warrior, I know.
Yes, she is. So if you're out there and you're struggling for any particular reason, you need to speak to Katie, then get in touch. She'll help you. She'll do a life activation for you, talk to you, and such like. And if we're not anywhere close to you, we will connect you with somebody.
Yeah. Or travel.
Travel. If you're in Australia, we've even got people in Tasmania. There you go. So far. So we we'll help. And Kitty, we'll speak again in a few, maybe 3 months, and let's see
what happens next.
So glad you're all with us, and tune in with us next time. Take care for now.
Thanks for having me.